speakers and the viewers to the BSc Reboot, organized by Bombay Stock Exchange and Arc Legal. Today's talk is centered on the discussion of building a resilient tourism sector for future. For the discussion, we have with us Mr. Puneet Chatwal. Mr. Puneet Chatwal joined the India Hotels Company Limited (IHCL) as the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer on November 6, 2017. He is a global professional with close to 4 decades of leadership experience at highly acclaimed hotel groups in Europe and North America. Welcome, sir.
Thank
To
you. Thank
complete
you
the
for
conversation, we have with us Ms. Khushbu Jain, a practicing advocate before the Supreme Court of India and the founding partner of ARC Legal. MS Jain has been helping in capacity building with various governmental and international institutions in cybercrime investigation. She has also been contributing to Maharashtra Cyber and Bombay Management Association in an advisory role. Without taking any more time, I request MS Jain to begin this exciting conversation. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Ashish. It's wonderful to host a discussion with you, Mr. Chatwal. Now, tourism as per tourism has been the most affected sector by COVID-19 pandemic. It highlighted the vulnerabilities of this sector and also our capacity to respond to such kind of crisis, which we have never seen before. Post-COVID, if I consider myself today as us as post-COVID, it is highly important that tourism sector returns to business as usual and also not usual, but becomes more resilient, learning from the past. Safety, hygiene, I think will be the key factors to select destinations among the people. And sustainability will be more prominent in tourism choices due to greater awareness of climate change, adverse impacts of tourism, crisis in opportunity to consider long-term implications of impact of tourism, and also to reimagine the future of tourism and to coordinate actions between different levels, that is government at all levels, private sector, different departments, different countries. So what are your views with regard to COVID-19 pandemic as an opportunity to reimagine the future of tourism?
Firstly, thank you for having me. There's a lot of ground you covered in the very first question, so I was wondering where to start. Let me start with firstly tourism and its resilience in the last 2 years. I think no sector could have demonstrated better resilience than tourism in general and hospitality in particular. When a lockdown is imposed and your revenues go down to zero, and how to manage with zero revenue, I think history will witness and will acknowledge the efforts made by this industry in staying resilient and keeping its head high, yet moving into innovation and also serving the communities. We, for example, at Indian Hotels, served almost 5 million meals to the frontline workers, the migrant workers, and hosted 125,000 bed nights, because in hospitals we count beds for also the frontline workers who were not able to go home, so that our hospitals could provide the better service needed for the COVID patients. So I think and resilience, if was demonstrated in this time, definitely after the frontline workers, I would put this as the second sector, which was really at the forefront of fighting COVID together with, let's say, the Municipal Corporation of Mumbai, or with the hospitals, or with the doctors, which we also recently commemorated at the Taj Mahal Palace Tower, calling all the doctors from Sion Hospital and other government hospitals. Having said that, let me move on to the more interesting subject. I think tourism is one of the biggest opportunities India is sitting upon. Tourism globally contributed more than 10% to the global GDP pre-COVID, and more than 10% to the jobs that were created. This includes direct and indirect jobs. And more importantly, pre-COVID, 1 out of every 4 jobs was created in this sector at the global level. India's numbers are marginally lower because also of the way we collect data, but indirect jobs in the informal sector are having a direct correlation with our industry. And, it includes anybody like, somebody carrying your bags when you go hiking, somebody putting your rafting boat together, the rickshawala in Banaras, which takes you through the Kashi Vishwanath temple. All these people's jobs are directly or indirectly serviced through tourism. So I think this crisis has been a very good opportunity for a variety of reasons. Number one, the sector has been able to redefine its fixed cost and a variable cost base. Number two, it has been able to redefine the standards of service and what is really that a customer needs versus just putting in, all sorts of amenities and all sorts of extras. And finally, it has helped create awareness of the importance of the sector at all levels. I would say at the center level, at the state level, at the industry level. And each time the first wave came, the lockdown had an impact of 6 to 9 months. With the second wave, the impact was 3 months. And with the last third wave or the Omicron, the impact was only like less than 6 weeks, for some 4 weeks, for some 6 weeks. So that is a very good demonstration of resilience, and was quite happy to see that. And going forward, I think tourism, as in the words of our Honorable Prime Minister, is a very big opportunity. It can become a very important pillar of job creation for a young nation. And finally, campaigns like Dekho Apna Desh can also accelerate the domestic tourism, which has been the main source of demand coming back in the sector, as we are all talking and seeing in the last 60 to 70 days.
Absolutely agree with you. Indeed, tourism is not, does not only create jobs in tertiary sector, but also encourages growth in the primary, secondary sectors of the industry. And to put it in a nutshell, tourism is nothing. It's basically a global opportunity that cannot be ignored. It's one of the largest global industries and major engine for economic growth and employment generation. And hence, I think I think national prioritization of the sector, as you rightly said, that domestic aspect of it. So, national prioritization of this sector is very much critical to ensure focus, investment, alignment, competitiveness are needed as a precursor to maximize the impact of tourism sector for the benefit of India at large. What are your views, maybe a point or two, with regard to tourism as a global opportunity for India, and hence national prioritization is a prerequisite?
Well, I think as a nation which is celebrating 75 years of independence, when we got independent, tourism could not have been a priority sector. It's very normal. And that's when our constitution was written a few years later after independence. And this sector could not be included in the concurrent list of the constitution. I think going forward, it would be a fair expectation, to not call it a priority sector, but to grant it an infrastructure status, given the current focus of the government on the infrastructure investments. I think this sector should be granted the infrastructure status at a center level, and as various states have done, including the state of Maharashtra during COVID times, to grant it the industry status at a state level. That would create more healthy returns for the investors, but also will encourage a lot of investment coming into the sector, both from domestic sources as well as international sources. And it will ultimately, multiply into jobs, into development of infrastructure. So, in my opinion, we are out of the phase of wanting to get benefit of emergency credit line guarantee schemes. I think it's more important to take a long-term view of the sector per se, and the positioning of the sector will actually define the role it is going to play in the development and the growth of the GDP in the country.
When you talk about positioning of the sector, use of digitalization, innovation, and technology is one of the key guiding principles for promotion and development of this sector. And I think the future is the digital transformation of tourism market in developing the sector. It will also help to expand market reach, increase in growth, improving operational efficiencies, and sharpen the competitive edge. We have seen in the past, COVID has made us believe, though we are talking about digital India, but COVID actually made us transform ourselves to the digital. Hence, promoting digitization, innovation, and technology in tourism sector is the need of the hour. What are your views on the same?
Well, I would still want to repeat for the sake of good order. One is the policy making, and the policy making comes from the central and the state governments. That is one point in positioning. The second is the positioning that the sector does for itself, using the tools that you have mentioned of digitization, innovation, sustainability, forward thinking, and also fighting a myth that safety and hygiene standards, which you said at the outset. I think, you know, having worked 4 decades in this industry, I think it would be fair to say I always saw better hygiene and safety standards in good, classified hotels than I saw them elsewhere. But a myth was inculcated in people as if going to a hotel you get a COVID, which was shut anyways. The restaurants were shut anyways, and the numbers were not spiking because people were going to hotels and restaurants. When we tend to forget, including in Mumbai, what happens when you go to Crawford Market or markets in Dadar, etc. So I think we need to give it to the sector that not only maintaining safety, hygiene, coming to terms with the new safety and hygiene protocols, innovations, including like the company I work for, we suddenly went into homestay business, but also home delivery business. We were bringing food, and we are still doing so to the doorsteps of our customers. We are bringing hospitality at home. We created an app called Cumin, which became very successful. It's a very successful business till date. So that is, a company over 120 AGMs in the traditional business of service was led by innovation of homestays as well as home deliveries during the last 2 years. And sustainability. I mean, each company that wants to survive in this new world, independent of which industry it operates in, has to be very focused on ESG, because the new generations that are coming in, they will not buy in. The capital that is needed for growth, investors that are needed, will not be investing in your companies if you are not focused on ESG initiatives.
Kudos to you. Even I have traveled during the COVID and stayed in the hotels, including yours. Now, coming, with your example of you going on creating an app and actually getting into people's home and helping and sustainability and innovations, another innovation that comes in mind that as per the new tourism policy, a mobile app will be developed by the tourism and the home ministry for the verification of data at the time of immigration and custom clearances. This is another innovation that we are looking to see forward. And see, for years, we have seen hospitality business has shared big tech's addiction to customers' data. Rather than selling it to advertisers, your industry specifically and airlines have traditionally used to personalize travel experiences for your guest. If I just specifically focus on hotels, particularly luxury hotels, they collect customers' data to build in detail, guest profiles, which include personal preferences from, the room to the pillow to the cocktails, to potentially more explicit guest informations to give them a better service. Now, when we talk about digitization, when we talk about innovation, when we talk about technology, the concern about cybersecurity and data protection comes in mind. That's the first thing that comes in mind, especially with the past recent events. If I may quote few, specifically focusing on tourism sector, the Marriott data breach and the British Airways, which practically were the headlines with the fine, which were literally jaw-dropping. If I may quote, leaking of Marriott customers' data, personal data, was the most serious incident so far in the tourism industry. Now, not just this industry, if we talk about public sector also, the Ministry of Tourism of Greece was slapped with or was fined with 75,000 pounds for failure to implement sufficient technical and organizational security measures. And there was a breach that occurred, and sensitive personal data of the party, of the affected party, was disclosed to a third party, and they did not even had an idea when it occurred, how it occurred, and what happened exactly. If I quote few more, not to scare off or not to put the industry in the down, but it's everywhere else. It's just a little portion of tourism, and we are talking about tourism. That's the Hyatt Hotel discovered malware in their payment system in 2015. Same year, Hilton urged all its customers to check credit card details statements after confirming the threat of credit card holders' payment details. 2016, not just if I talk about tourism, Uber comes in play. They suffered one of the largest data breach, which affected 75 million users and 6 lakh drivers around the world. Now, 2016, hackers stole more than 1,200 intercontinental hotels in America. Now, let's not forget the recent Air India data breach, where we were being given advisory that please check all your details, might change all your passwords, and what has happened since 2012 till date, the data has been breached. Now, this brands across industries relies on breaches, data breaches. We don't understand that this can potentially, apart from fines in European countries, in America, India still has to develop its data protection bill, but nonetheless, the certain guidelines which came into existence, I think, 20 days back, there would be fines, there would be requirements, but nonetheless, in the absence of fine, it is not just the fine, it is not just the regulatory requirement, but they are potentially embarrassing, as they can seriously devalue a travel brand and damage the trust that has taken years for this industry to build. They are not only potentially embarrassing and break your trust, but also, if I put it, if I need your opinion on this, the question to you would be specifically that if this kind of breaches can happen to the biggest players in the business, whose cybersecurity budgets are way more bigger than the other businesses, how exposed are small groups and individual hotels?
Well, there is no one answer to this question. I'm glad you asked me specific question, because it would not be appropriate for me to comment on most of the companies that you mentioned as listed companies. I think as you advance in technology, there will be several benefits which will outweigh the negatives. So anything that you do will not be coming free of any kind of risk. So as serious and responsible managers of any business, it is our duty to manage risks. And there will be all the time all kinds of risks surrounding you. If you're a listed company, somebody starts trading in the silent period, despite all the possible communication, it keeps happening. It is embarrassing. If you are using technology, if you're using a lot of data, somebody is trying to hack you, and they can hack anyone and anywhere these days in the world, because there is somebody out there who has fun doing these kind of things. However, when the benefits far more outweigh the negatives, the opportunities are far greater than the pitfalls. I think that is how we have advanced as a civilization. You just look at what technology has done in the last 4 decades to the mankind. It's only improved the way we work. It's only improved the speed and the agility that we all have learned to embrace. It has got us more connected than ever before. However, the West, as you rightly say, is far more advanced on the GDPR regulations. And I'm sure they will be introduced in a very strict fashion, or at a very advanced level, even here with time. And as far as concerning your comment on the apps, I think the whole world slowly is moving from the computer to the laptop, from the laptop to the iPad, from the iPad to the iPhone, and the usage is getting all diverted through the app. So some things, as they say, very very famous saying, change is the only constant in our lives, and I think uh, the rapid change that technology confronts us in today's world is the only constant. And if you were to do the same interview in 3 to 6 months' time, a lot more would have changed also.
Completely agree with you, and I think with this change is the only constant. And yes, I don't want to stop where is innovation in technology is concerned, but there is one ingredient. We have to shift. We are bound to shift towards technology, newer and newer, easier for users experience. But there is one ingredient which is found again and again in all the breaches which I was talking about, and other industry also, not just the hospitality industry, is the lack of investment in cybersecurity and the protection of sensitive data. We have seen there is very little standards that are being followed by the industry. Very little has been done to prevent these type of catastrophe, making it easy for hackers to obtain millions of personal data or data items of users. The consequences are very serious. Let's not just focus on fines by the GDPR, by the data protection authorities across globe. But at the same time, as I was talking about reputation loss, which is very which is not visible, but yes, it's very important. Coming on the aspect that apart from regulatory requirement, using we have all seen those billboards, privacy matters nowadays. iPhone has come up with new billboards, nothing, just privacy matters. So apart from regulatory requirements, using of security and privacy will play a very crucial role, maybe to gain competitive advantage. So for those industry who have invested right systems and processes, perhaps privacy can be highly valued competitive advantage. What are your views?
Well, we fully endorsed to what you've said, but because your previous question was related to small players, I did not say answer on that. But when it comes to larger groups like us in the hospitality sector, but also belonging to a group like Tata Group, we have invested on this front on cybersecurity long time ago, and we have um, an office which we have done in collaboration with one of the big four agencies in the accounting practice in Bangalore, and we're continuously monitoring any such kind of threat. Uh, and that is what I call risk management. So, of course, it is very important to build up a mechanism. And as you rightly say, it is a part of your competitive advantage. And what we can do is, as I said, we can try and make sure that as management, we have taken the necessary steps. We have put in all the resources that we have in place, that we have continuous 24/7 monitoring of anybody trying to hack you from any part of the world. That's the best we can do. If still somebody is able to get through the system, get through all the firewalls that we've built in, then it's like just, I would just say, sheer bad luck. But we can only keep trying, and not try for one day and then forget for a year, but try every day, as I said, 24/7. And we have specialized people who are trained uh, to I would say circumvent such an attack or defend us from such an attack. So this is a real good actually experience when I visited the center, which I've done not twice myself, to see what kind of mechanisms are in place to protect our organization from such attacks.
I completely agree with you. Cyber attacks are here to stay. However strong you become, whatever security measures you take in place, attacks are here to stay. If we are here, the criminals go two step ahead and they will come. Now, what is important is I agree with you that the things which you have adopted by your organization also, that how resilient you are and what are your mitigation responses to situations like this. How do you mitigate the risk that comes in place, and how secure you are to such kind of catastrophe attacks. I would also need your opinion on shifting from the technology to the breaches to the scary aspect. Now let's go on the growing aspect. I would also need your opinion on need for effective governance. when I talk about effective governance, because tourism is nothing but a very complex domain, covering wide range of activities, including or involving a lot of ministries, state governments, local governments, private sector. See, it is led by private sector. Industry basically is led by private sector. The government has a crucial role in enabling tourism, maybe by developing cultural and natural resources, physical and social infrastructure. So keeping in view that tourism is is impacted by multiple sectoral policies, it requires a whole of government approach, including private sector. So repeating the question that on need for an effective governance, as this is a very, what are your opinion that this department, this sector specifically needs a effective governance, especially keeping in mind that this is a complex domain?
Well, I'm a firm believer of effective governance in any sector enables it to grow faster. It might sound more difficult in the beginning, but actually, good governance helps create good businesses, good organizations, and good civilizations. So I think governance has a direct correlation with the maturity of organizations and civilizations. And the more governance that comes in, the better it is for the future of tourism, including for shifting a lot from the unorganized to the organized sector. So a lot of, as we all know, action related to tourism happens in the unorganized sector. It will actually become an enabler to move people from unorganized to organized sector, and good governance will help tourism thrive, which in turn will help the GDP and the job creation thrive in this country.
Completely. I think, yeah, I agree with you that effective tourism, effective governance will be the key to prioritize and mainstream the tourism sector in national and state level to bring India at a global level. Now, when we are discussing about tourism with you, especially with you, how can we not focus on ecotourism, sustainable tourism? As the world emerges from pandemic related, I don't want to use the word again and again, but still we are forced to, as we have been emerging from this pandemic related economic dislocations, and India continues with its commitment to net zero. There's an opportunity to maybe reimagine its urban development and growth in the manner that it is future ready and sustainable. See, economic growth is often achieved at the cost of environment, with human encroachment, rampant pollution, posing primary challenges to a sustainable and a holistic growth. This is why the manner in which ecotourism is booming in India, in particularly close to reserves, close to national parks, needs an urgent look. Not just those areas, but other areas also needs a urgent look. What are your views?
Well, I think this is a larger subject. If I may add to whatever you said, I would just call it the entire subject of being ESG plus. So I've had the fortune of having worked for a Scandinavian company which has been at the forefront of all these activities, and in India, I have the fortune of working for Tata Group, where the founder said that community is not just another stakeholder, rather the purpose of the existence of any business. So I think you've been like kind of exposed throughout your career with this kind of thinking, which helps to evolve, and that's how we recently. I would not go for the industry. Yes, ecotourism is a very big opportunity, especially in a country like India, and even at the CII National Council, we have a small subgroup on the tourism committee which deals with ecotourism, and we have an expert colleague who helps us work on it all the time. But having said that, let me just say about Indian Hotels or the Taj Group, which recently launched on the 22nd of March. A comprehensive program which we call our ESG plus under the name Pathya, which means the path or the right path on which you embark upon. So besides sustainability, besides promoting ecotourism, which we have done, our first like real eco resort is in Havelock in Andaman and Nicobar. But having said that, it's about preserving heritage, preserving the heritage and the heritage brands, how you work with the communities, how you enable women workforce like the saris that our uh, uh, women associates wear, which are done by the Banaras sari weavers. So that's about protecting lives, livelihoods, heritage of the country. It's about promoting environmental stewardship by using wastewater, by using renewable energy, by getting rid of single-use plastic. We have committed to that to do that over time, and also skilling is a part of it. How are we going to skill so many people? We have committed to skill a minimum of 100,000 people over next 5 years, of which 25% must be women. So I think there is a plethora of activities that you can indulge in and you must indulge in, because what came from the people must go back multiple times to the people. So I think we have a great opportunity, all of us in this business, to promote in our own ways, with every organization trying to do their, contribute their bit in making the world a better place. And I just think it goes far beyond just plastic. It goes far beyond just cleanliness. It goes far beyond sustainability. It goes far beyond safety and hygiene. And it's a big opportunity, because all these activities actually result in a higher economic value for all stakeholders. So I think the opportunity is there. Is the question is how many embrace it and how many embrace it quickly and look at it positively. We will keep lobbying for it. We'll keep championing it, and we will keep playing the role of the leader in these initiatives.
I think beautifully explained and indeed beautifully approach the holistic approach which your organization has taken up to overcome the major challenge in protecting environment, protecting society, protect a holistic approach towards protecting the environment, I would say, by use of sustainable development, including implementing schemes and in every sector. So I think that's a very beautiful initiative by you, that let's not just focus on one thing but focus holistic. There should be a holistic approach whereas sustainability is concerned. I would request a closing remark from you, maybe for 2 minutes, and after that we'll close our discussion. I mean, I know much cannot be done today. It's just half an hour of a discussion, and it's too much to discuss when you are sitting across.
Thank you. Firstly, let me start with thanking you, um, Arc Legal, but also the organizers for having me and giving us this opportunity to have this talk. I think if we start, let me do it with the questions you asked and try to elaborate on those. I think resilience is the key. We have been a very resilient industry. We have survived for several centuries, and including our group, which is in business for over 120 years as the oldest operating company of the Tata Group. That's the starting point, and I think people can learn that how responsibly we conducted ourselves, and we have actually bounced back with a bang because our stakeholders hold us in high esteem for all the initiatives we took during the last 2 years. That's one. The second is tourism as an opportunity for the world. Tourism is an opportunity for India. Tourism is an opportunity for job creation, contribution to the GDP, and tourism as an opportunity to building the character of the nation. When we say people have been to so many places, that means they are far more aware, far more tolerant, and far more intelligent about different behaviors of different cultures, and that makes them build better character, which in turns builds the national character further, which is what is good. That's the whole thing about good to great, how to build great nations, and or defend your position as great nation. So I think positioning of the tourism as a sector is important, and the positioning it as an infrastructure status at the central level, granting it industry status in all the states of India is a step, or would be a step, in the right direction. Moving on, the tourism part B, which is an opportunity, is no country in the world that I can think of the size of India has everything to offer, from religious tourism, or what you call it spiritual tourism, to medical tourism, to skiing in the Himalayas, or to going to the beaches, or to the temples, or you name it, and the history and the palaces and everything else is available out here. So, given that fact, our share of the global tourism is very, very small. So I am very optimistic, I'm very confident that our market share will grow more and more, especially as India has emerged as a stronger nation in the way it has battled or overcome COVID versus many other mature markets of the world. The third thing, which going beyond tourism, I would go for is themes that we discussed about ESG. I think ESG, independent of any industry, is a fundamental need that we all have to address. It's going to be, as they call it in Latin, a conditio sine qua non. That means without that, you will not be able to survive or be in good business environment over longer term. And the last theme, which I would say is digitization, innovation, embracing technology for last several decades is become a part and parcel of our lives. I doubt if that is going to change. The only thing that would change is the speed of the change will keep getting faster and faster. So let us all roll up our sleeves or increase our knowledge or open our minds and use the opportunity to digitize, to innovate, and to leverage technology for making better businesses and for building a better, stronger, and a more resilient sector. Lastly, it would be fair for me to summarize, encourage all of you to start traveling, start staying in our hotels, make them a fun place that they always used to be. I can assure you hotels are safe, they are hygienic, they are sanitized, and you should not worry. And we look forward to welcoming you all.
Thank you so much. The tourism industry indeed is faced with twin challenge. One is of regaining its lost ground due to the past few months we have gone through, and also creating better facilities for the future. Hence, the new need for a master plan. Master plan maybe to entail the right model, which 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 focuses on unlimited opportunities for innovation in travel, for hospitality and tourism sector, where tourism industry, including Indian startups, Indian Incs., can work and provide new innovative solutions in this industry, including what your organization has been doing to make tourism safer for all of us. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful discussing with you. And I think there would have been nobody better to discuss, though we have jumped from technology to sustainable to the past, and also the security aspect of it. So it was wonderful having conversation with you, and thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.